Even my best friend, they don't
Don't know.
know.
Well, hello there, everybody. Yeah, a little Van Morrison. I'll tell you what, the Philosopher's Stone. Yeah, we're all on that path, aren't we? So good to see you. Bosto to everyone. It says we're live. So I assume we're in a living state of consciousness, which is a very broad um, definition. I mean, consciousness. What is consciousness? This Thursday, the title for the Steiger perspective, those of you who follow me on there, artistfirst.com, we're going to be, it's a great title. There are times when reality appears to be a conspiracy. I think we're in such time. I don't know. That's just my opinion. So take it however you can got it. So hello, all the moderators. So good to see all of you and everybody else. I mean, hey, David, and I see Icepick and Elderberry and Jargo. How are you doing, beloved abstract? Susie Q, greetings, Emperor David. So good to see you. I'm sure probably Big Al's out there with Perry and David Barry and everybody else. Hey, Suzanne, good to see you. Yes, romancing the philosopher's stone. You got it, babe. That's what we're talking about. That's just how I roll, jelly roll. And even my best friends don't know that my job is turning lead into gold. Yeah, I love the lyrics on that. It's so cool. So I've been doing a lot of reading this week, and let me just speak favor, Bosto, be of service to others, no matter what. I got my Sky Pilot here. Give the big virtual hug to everybody here. You're never too big or too old or too young to ever give a hug. So who knows? They may let us out to where we can actually hug everybody again. So there you go. I got some good news too. Jane Tripp is we're working on it. We're going to get a time she's coming on. So, and speaking of Jane, this weekend, yesterday was what I would call a alert day for us here in the Front Range in Colorado. Folks, they were doing some heavy spraying. This is right over our house. I mean, and I worked these so you could see uh, when you just take a little bit of the shading, and it's quite remarkable. Some of these chemtrails, they're not contrails. I know what contrails are. We all do. These, um, within 40 minutes, they had virtually spread across the sky. It was a bizarre sight. Strangeness was abounding everywhere. And as you can see, these are all chemical clouds. And the weird thing is, I brought my wife outside and I said, sweetheart, how is this possible? And she's looking up there and she says, what are you pointing out? And I said, how is it that these chemtrails cast shadows? Now, what makes it even weirder is that you would think that the shadow, right, boom, 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 would not be visible if you were looking up, but yet, yeah, they are. Look at that. And folks, I don't know what the hell is in that. That's ball. That's all I got to say. Uh, and I love how these sky pilots, X marks the spot. All right. And look at this. And you can see the different, because I'm at almost 6,000 feet. So just imagine how much higher these are than where we are at. Look at that. And when you take the light and you begin to turn the ambient light down, it really, as Jane has shown, and we're going to be discussing, you really begin to see that this is not a contrail. This is neither clouds, neither. There are chemical compounds in what we're looking at. And they can say whatever they want, but you can't deny the evidence. And look how it actually makes a shadow. This is the weird thing. There it is. Yeah. And this is, look at the length of this one. This is what I was talking about. The dispersion ratio as it begins to intermingle with the jet stream. Well, I can see that there's really a pause on me. It's very, very bizarre. Look at the shadow here. How is that possible? And you can see the chemical fallout right here. It's just some weird stuff. And like I said, they were heavily, and here's another gun. I really captured this one. I wanted to show you. There it is. Excuse me. So look at that. How is this casting a shadow on that? Strangeness abounds, folks. Don't know. So that was all the reason more, and it was a beautiful day yesterday. We had springtime temperatures near 70. I think it got to 72 on Saturday. And this is what they were putting up in the air. Oh, take a deep breath. How dare. Yeah. Sucks. And, you know, again, there are times when reality appears to be a conspiracy. Because folks, whatever that is, I don't know. Yeah, X makes the spot. We actually had one, and we've seen the pentagram. We've seen that. We've seen where it looked like these pilots were playing a game of tic-tac-toe. But who knows? So it's deep. Hey, Kent, what's up, man? Hey, Lois, good to see you. Hey, Gaia. Gonna have Gaia on. And her husband, Regina, good to see you. Lost in Space and Hummingbird. So yeah, sucks. Really does. And what do you do? So here's one. I had a fantastic weekend. I got a lot done, but I had a great deal of time to read. And it was how can we send 134 megabyte video to Wayne? Well, I'll tell you what, I want him to debunk it. Thanks. You can go to a service called WeTransfer.com, free, secure, and unlimited size, in which you, well, I think they got maybe 100 gigabytes, but yeah, you're not sending a motion picture anyway. Conspiracy means when two or more persons agree to carry out an agenda in secret. Ah, there we have a astute, tribe member. Thanks, Twilight. Appreciate that. There you go. Hey, alien believer, what's up? Stephanie, lots of shit. Yeah. Hey, Shannon, what's up, girl? Dragon Soul Fox, how you doing? So no doubt, I mean, Steve Olson back in the day, and I wish he would continue to do it. He used to send the balloons up, and maybe it's something to look into because it'd be really interesting to get a chemical analysis of what that would be. It would probably be about, I'm estimating at least 30,000 feet. So, but who knows? Hey, Robert V, what's up? Favor to you. Saw y'all on Saturday night. Good show there with Miss Marsha. Love Marsha. Yeah, see, I just didn't take it out. See, and Nina the Mystic, she has the Anaconda to the t-shirts. So I think everybody should really show some support and go over there and buy one. And then you can buy one of these from Marsha. Hey, Marsha, I'm sending work your way. There you go. Because she is just one that we have an enlightened group here. And as we're about to get going here, Project Loom. I know, I saw that. Yeah, $5,000. What was it? Is that to prove or disprove? I'm not real sure. I don't remember that. Well, thank you, Danielle. Appreciate the Steiger perspective. Yeah. Over there, you can't be a cat with long tail because we have too many rocking chairs. In other words, we're going to step on somebody's toes or otherwise. Hey, Tony, what's up? Could it be because light is truly an illusion that just the rest of the holographic universe? Hey, I am up for everything. We're about to get into, hey, Rocker Chick, what's up, girl? Lucky Stone, I'm telling you, she is unbelievable talent. Yes. And, Lucky Stone, I like I call him the walking philosopher. He has the quick, what I call the 1 minute, you should think about this. And I love it, Lucky. Keep it up. Posey, what's up? And I saw the Andromeda 7. Checked y'all out as well. Pretty cool stuff. So, are y'all ready to go on a magical carpet ride? Because we're about to go into a zone that it's interesting. I love these doctors with their PhDs, and there's some that are just they if you get into their presence and read their papers, they will freaking challenge you. I mean, and that's what I love about them. I mean, they push your core confident beliefs to the limit, baby. And you have to be really careful because if you push those core beliefs, mine have been shattered. That was shattered almost a decade ago. And I'm still rebuilding with the fractals. And that's the cool thing about it, as opposed to where it was more monolithic. Now my core is really more of the fractal, bringing in many. And, once you start building with fractals, it's infinite. It allows you never to become so stringent in your beliefs that it eventually breaks you. And when people die and they wake up on the other side of the transition, a lot of times that's what awaits them. But, that is something we'll get into. So let's rock and roll because, folks, this is knowledge. This is Gnosis. This is, if you're here, then you're here seeking occult Gnosis. You're here to seek the hidden knowledge. That's all occult is. And folks, we're going to get into some papers that are going to show very clearly why the monotheistic, primarily Abrahamic belief system, there's a reason why when they would go in and conquer, literally that's what it is, a culture, a society, a city, a village, they would always ask, where is your shaman? Where's your holy man? And of course, they thought that this was in peace. And so they would point him out or her. And what they did, they always took the Gnostic writings, the occult. Why? Because they were about to indoctrinate them in a whole different belief system that today permeates the very foundation of our reality. And it is because of this virus, this mind virus that was perpetrated upon us approximately about 1600 years ago, maybe 17, pushing 18 to be honest. It infected. And there's a reason, because the wording carried a vibration, it carried a frequency, and it was designed to pacify your mind. Now we're going to get into, I copied his work. It was just Moshan Paul Safaradze. He's a PhD, and his hypothesis is that the moon is in fact recent, that the moon is not native to the earth. It's not even native to the solar system. Neither is the earth. But more importantly, that this moon is hollow. We know that. And actually, it has a very weird effect on humans. I'm going to give you one that you have to stop and really think about. All women know this. Your menstrual cycle is based upon the lunar cycle. You think Lilith was maybe telling us something? Kent Cook, you get the 5-star today. You are right on it. All right, let's get into this. You're going to love it. I'm telling you. And I'm just going to share with you. Let me get my mug out of the video panel. We're going to be covering this one. Tomorrow, I am doing an interview with, I think, the Spiritfall group. I'll get more of it. And I'll put it into the comment section later on the birth certificate. Tune in. That one's going to be exciting. But then we're going to get into exposing Christianity. This all goes hand in hand. And then we're going to get into why is it that our species were programmed to perpetuate the belief, false belief, of apocalypse. Now, there's a cycle, a catastrophic cycle, which is not the apocalypse. The apocalypse is a meme that is actually designed to keep the boys and girls in check. You're going to love this one. So let's get right into him. This guy's writing. All right. This is the abstract. So we got to get the abstract established so you understand the thesis. This is a discussion is carried out with regard to the satellite that is orbiting the Earth. Now, these are the writings and opinions of Dr. Safarazi, not mine. So, and I respect all opinions. I think that that's the problem. We've become so intolerant of ideas and opinions that go against what we think reality is. Guided by a series of historical accounts narrated by some of the ancient civilizations of the Earth with regard to the moon being a mysterious object, an individual may be confronted with a notion that conjures up many questions. Accordingly, a list of such questions invoked by also the close observations of the moon has been elucidated, which have been led to some interesting answers as follows. Now, let me just ask you this. As you're thinking about the one with the menstrual cycle, explain to me how gravity works on the moon again. Because we have two different laws of gravity. Now, they'll try to tell you, oh, no, the moon spins. Baby. And then they'll tell you, well, no, we're within the gravitational grip of the Earth. Baby. No. You have been indoctrinated. Get your diploma. All right, number one. Contrary to the idea of the satellite being composed of a solid iron core, in contrast, the moon is a hollow object. Two, it appears that not only the moon is an artificial satellite, it is driven by a propulsion system that is energized by a fusion reactor at its core that acts as a spaceship engine. The moon is not from this part of the universe, as it is by far older and composed of different elements. Explain to me how the H3 got up there, okay, than anything seen in our solar system. It seems clear that the moon was dragged in space and brought here for a particular purpose. I have a video I did called that we're all refugees. I contend, and there is a theory out there that says humans are not indigenous to planet Earth. We've been fed this lie, dust is us, earth. You go, that's all bullshit. It's part of the indoctrination. You'd be surprised that this has permeated into every fabric of our perception of reality. We go on. That includes artificially distorting the magnetic field of the Earth via an AI machinery that manages to change or distort the magnetic to electric quantum spin velocity ratio of the fundamental particles of the Earth. That's a mouthful. how the AI machinery is managing to change or distort the magnetic to electric quantum spin velocity ratio of the fundamental particles of the Earth. That's some deep stuff there. I mean, come on. I mean, let's all be honest. We may know a little bit about what he's talking about here, but I would dare to say a vast majority of us are going, what? He goes on, thereby stealing the magnetic energies of the Earth that are directed to a black hole, Moloch. What the freak is Moloch's name doing in here? Goes to the Steiger perspective for more in depth. Anyway, the Moloch energetic storage tank. This blew me away. I mean, literally, I stopped and I went, what the, you know what? Put in your 4 syllables as you care. And if you care to put a couple of vowels. The Moloch energetic storage tank. Folks, our reality is nothing what we have been taught or think. Our science is as if a monkey playing with his own shit and throwing it around. That's where our science is at. That's where our philosophy is at. That's where our spirituality is at. We just haven't been honest with ourselves. We think we got it figured out, baby. All right, which are used by negative aliens to feed up themselves as well as supply the much needed energies for the operation of their AI machinery. Folks, what is the one thing that you could say without a doubt? Love the tea. That chai tea. No, this is actually spice tea. But anyway, I think you and I and the rest of humanity could agree that if there's been one constant, and that has been war, man has always fought himself. In fact, our entertainment, our drama is predicated on the 3 principles of every story. They're either man against man against nature, or man against himself. And all 3 of these generate a negative energy. Our planet, our species, has been directly manipulated to be constantly in a state of where there is nothing but negative energy coming forth. It actually quelches the meager attempts of how humans have tried in the past to reverse the negativity of humanity to a positive. We're going up against something that is such a powerful beam. We'll get into it more. And this, of course, manifests as distorting the angle of quantum spin axis, the staff of the Earth, about which Earth spins around itself, offsetting it to an aggregate of 23.23.5 degrees. There are a slew of other nefarious reasons as to why the moon was ever brought here that include mind controlling the population of Earth via various means, while they are artificially manipulated to engage in a series, get this, of self-destructive behaviors leading to the relinquishing of their precious energetic loosh. You know, we get this information from so many different angles here. And as I watch these other channels starting in the tribe, we're bringing information. And folks, isn't it odd that there seems to be the synchronicity of the continuing coming up of topics, how they blend and mix. So think about this. And we're going to find, I'm going to do one on sexuality because I have to. Because our species, again, we really don't know what we don't know. Bum, 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 bum. Mic drop. I'm out here. All right, let's continue. While preventing the process of humanity's consciousness expansion and evolution. You know, we've talked about this. You know, we've got records dating back, you know, at least 10,000 years going through the Sumerians, later than that. And if our IQ was at the, I contend, was at a higher level in the past, No one still knows how they did the pyramids. There's many things. But anyway, in 10,000 years, our IQ should have at least grown from 100 to at least 10,000. Nope. Sorry, you don't have the right DNA. Oh, well, that sucks. Um, um, Also causing a host of bioenergetic and morphogenetic problems via the introduction of various frequency fences and genetic implants, causing gender confusion and gender splitting that negates the possibility of sacred marriage and ascension ever taking place, eventually giving rise to progressive genetic mutations in addition to alien hybridization, while accumulating black goo in the human DNA RNA systems, as well as created miasma by the negative alien AI machinery, giving rise to myriad of diseases, the causing of aging, eventually accumulating in physical death. 6. It is further explicitated that there are negative aliens as well as their subservient humans present on the dark side of the moon. Now, this gets into some pretty, you really have to be open-minded on this. Otherwise, your mind's just going to shut down. Hear the man out. Who are engaged in operating sophisticated AI machinery such as the gravitron, and in this respect, utilize the moon as a military and technological base. 7. Finally, it is explicited that the sophisticated AI machinery of the moon that has been working in conjunction with the negative aliens' infrastructure and technology on Saturn and the Earth have been partially dismantled and soon will be totally inoperative, with it evicting the negative aliens, condemning the lunar forces and negative and dark entities, negative and shadow forms to the solar fire of transfiguration afforded or facilitated by the guardian founders and their higher dimensional cohorts, who are sworn to free up humanity from the bondage of unconsciousness enslavement concocted by the negative aliens, leading to their total eviction from our universe, therefore thereby conforming to the provisions of the law of one, restoring humanity's right of sovereignty and free will, and once again bringing our realm back to the light, joining the rest of God's worlds. Now, I don't know which God he's talking about, but we'll just use the word God to be inclusive of all concepts, right? So now this gets interesting. Again, listen to the man. He's got a PhD. I don't. Do you? No. Okay. So here's the introduction. The ancients, the Greeks, the Mesopotamians, the Sumerians, the Bolivians, and even the African Zulus, etc., speak of a time that Earth was not here, when there was no distinct seasons, and when Earth was a quintessential Eden, with a perfect climate always being lush and green. And they speak of a time when women did not menstruate, having a cycle tied to the moon cycle. These accounts of the aforementioned ancient beings conjure the following questions to mind. What is this strange and mysterious object in the sky that we refer to as our moon? Why does it seem to produce strange lights, often showing as an orange light on its surface? Now, I understand, there's lots of reasons in light. I mean, we get that. But again, my position is don't think you know it all. We don't understand light. And so when I hear him, I'm going, okay, yeah, could be something else there. Who knows? Why does the moon have two distinct sides, dark and light? Why the so-called dark side is always hidden from us? And what does it have to hide from us? Someone wrote, well, no, the moon actually, as it spins around, does show the dark side. No, no, no. I wish it was. They don't want that to happen, and I don't believe it ever will happen. And when you think about it, odd that you have a satellite of that intensity because the moons on other planets spin. But this one doesn't. But yet it generates an atmosphere and 1/6 gravity. Well, how the hell does that happen? How come the moon, the earth, and the sun seem to mutually fit so perfectly within an orbit? I mean, folks, if this is natural design, kiss my ass. When you do the mathematics on this, baby. No, someone knew what they were doing when they brought this thing here. Who knows? We may have been in there, but I don't know. And why do we have lunar and solar eclipses? How come in recent years is it at times experienced that the moon is unconventionally moving closer and closer to Earth, making it appear as such an incredibly large object in the sky, such as that has never been seen before? And I get perihelion, I get that. But really, folks, I mean, if we have apogee, then why do we have these supermoons more and more? And I'm telling you, I watch the moon. You can see it sometimes rise into the northeast, and it will follow the natural progression of our star, and you will see it set in the west to southwest. But I have seen it in other times go from the northeast and to set in the extreme southeast. Now, that's a lot of perturbation moving in there. Why certain samples brought back by the astronauts, such as moon rocks, when visiting the moon, do not ever oxidize or rust. And why, when being there, the astronauts encountered many strange things that conjured up many queries. Some of these included the following questions: why the dark side has a distinctly different texture or look, or what they would call geological texture. Why does the moon have a glassy surface? Why the temperature on the two sides are considerably different? Well, we get the idea of what sunlight will do to you, but again, he's asking some good questions here. Why the far side has a deeper crust? Why does this side require considerably more effort to excavate, excuse me, excavate, there we go. Why does it seem to be hollow? We know that that is a fact. Why does it reverberate so long when subjected to seismic or any form of dynamic force resulting by falling objects, like meteorites? Could it be that the moon is an artificial satellite or a spaceship being powered, driven, akin to the famous Death Star in the Star Wars movies? His section on the moon is a hollow sphere. The ancient Greeks, Mesopotamians, Sumerians, and Bolivians, and African Zulus, and many other ancient cultures of Earth have referred to the moon as a hollow egg. The moon has a much lower density than Earth, as it is commonly measured or evaluated by cubic feet of water as an indication of mass per unit volume. In this respect, it is estimated that the moon has a density that compares with 3.3 times the volume of water as compared to Earth, that has a density equivalent to 5.5 times the volume of water. You didn't know there was going to be a math test, did you? So the moon is comparatively less dense by a factor of 3.5 over 4.5, which would then equal 60% as it would be perceived to be. 1/6 gravity, remember? This is a discrepancy that could only be explained other than by the fact that the moon is hollow, composed of a cavity as opposed to solid materials. Thus, its volume is large, but its density is comparatively low. It does not have a solid iron core like other planets, satellites, or moons. Why? It is composed of 3 layers, but not of solid materials. One of the things the astronauts found out very quickly is that on Apollo 11, when they came back in, they didn't know about the surface, which we would call the surface dust on the moon. And they, did their best of, knocking off because you actually build a static charge And what they found out was that it's actually like razor blades, glass. And it was, once it got into the filtration system, they had real problems. The core is more of like a function reactor that acts as an engine suitable for and acting as a propulsion system. Could it be that some intelligent life form brought and parked it there and carefully devised it to move at with such precise dynamics? And it is, when you stop to think about this, there's just too many. Really? That's natural, huh? And of course, man, in his childish views of what he sees to be creation, has made up and concocted a lot of different theories, um, most being wrong. This conclusion is also very much corroborated with firm belief by the astronomers and scientists like Carl Sagan, as well as those affiliated with academic institutions such as the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Oxford University, etc., that the moon is a hollow object and that it was steered here by artificial means or a propulsion system. Such a thesis is easily backed up by considering its large volume but low density. Being an object without a heavy iron core, as most other natural planets or satellites have, this all explains the low density of the moon. Another significant observations made by the astronauts, such as Neil Armstrong, involves the peculiar reverberation and seismic quality of the moon. To quote Neil Armstrong, who observed the descent of a heavy object on the moon, while in there, it rang like a bell. It is commonly observed that when seismic activities occur, they only last typically for seconds. Now, let me explain something. In one of our Apollo missions, we actually shot a missile down, and they didn't do that again. Yeah, there's a reason. However, it's observed by the astronauts that upon an impact of an object on the moon, the reverberations continued for 10 minutes. And when Apollo 12 crashed on the moon, it continued to reverberate for almost an hour. This observation was repeated later and observed by NASA scientists when this time the moon reverberated for 3 hours and 20 minutes. These observations undoubtedly suggest that the moon is a hollow object. Furthermore, these vibrations are composed of odd rhythmic patterns, which are not characteristic of a natural organic satellite. This is his thesis on the moon as a spaceship. The observations that the dark side of the moon has a different texture and the evidence of a glassy surface suggests that it was brought here at high velocity, exposing one of its sides to a considerable pressures as well as high velocities. This suggests that the moon was dragged here from elsewhere, driven by a specific underlying purpose. Furthermore, it suggests that the moon was dragged here via an artificial powered mechanism, such as a propulsion engine. Accordingly, it must have been a spaceship capable of being navigated. Also, the fact that the dark side of the moon has the evidence of being scorched suggests that it was exposed to extremely high temperatures, resulting from being driven and being subjected to extreme velocities while being brought here. There is the evidence that it can be navigated. And the fact that it is a hollow, fortified by the fact that it is artificially navigable, suggests that the moon is indeed a spaceship rather than a natural satellite as other moons. I told you you're going to have fun with this. The moon is not from our solar system, that was brought here from elsewhere. Now, his thesis on this is interesting. The aforementioned ancient cultures speak of a time when there was no moon in the sky, and this is true. You can go over to the Thunderbolts project, same thing. There was a time when there wasn't a sun, but I get ahead of myself. And of the time of arrival of the moon and the reptilians to coincide with the event of Earth changing its axis of rotation to 23 degrees offset in its staff. Remember, the staff is that. Indeed, almost all ancient cultures of Earth, such as the ancient Greeks, Mesopotamians, Sumerians, have always considered the moon to be a highly mysterious object, and certainly something that is not a natural satellite. The fact that the moon has two contrasting sides, each comprised of distinctly different geological textures and characteristics, as well as exhibiting distinctly different temperatures, suggests that it might have been dragged here from elsewhere at extremely high velocities. There are certainly glassy surfaces on the moon that corroborate such the hypothesis, making the moon not a natural satellite. Furthermore, the geological composition of the moon and its elements are different than that of the Earth. The geological samples that were recovered and brought to Earth exhibit the characteristics that they never oxidize. This alone confirms the fact that it has elements that are not from this part of the universe. This actually resembles a tower in New Delhi that for some particular reason, it also never oxidizes or rust. In fact, the weird thing about it is it heals itself. It's weird. Furthermore, the accretion disk theory is false. The accretion disk theory hypothesizes that the Earth and the Moon initially were formed together as a double system as the same celestial body from a primordial accretion disk of the solar system or even a black hole. And the Moon is simply too big of an object to have been captured by Earth. Furthermore, it has been experienced that the Earth and the Moon have geological rocks that are totally different in elemental matters, with what has been recovered from the Moon suggesting that the Moon rocks are much older than the Earth rocks and are composed of elemental matters not found in this part of the universe. In fact, the Moon is much older than the Earth or even the Sun, believed to be around 4.6 billion years by the Earth scientists. Its dust is perceived to be as much as 5.6 billion years old. Thus, this suggests that the moon originated in another part of the universe and was then brought up here, or to here, or down here. I don't know which. In this respect, the moon does not have any form of regular geology that would be commensurate with Earth or any such celestial bodies in the solar system. It is mostly hollow with a crust that is very shallow and not so deep as the natural planetary satellite would be expected to be. Furthermore, there is certainly the evidence of very high amount of hot radioactive material existing on the surface. Also, the very fact that certain areas have a glassy surface texture, again, suggests the evidence of a surface of the moon having been subjected to extreme heat caused by nuclear explosion or having been dragged through the space at extremely high speeds. Maybe both. Isn't it odd that we don't know what the Chinese have found? They're being very quiet. And I mean, folks, for the Chinese, and they like to brag a lot, they are being really quiet. Lunar experts also assert that the moon's core is extremely hot, yet it's hollow, suggesting a form of nuclear generated powering the moon, again, rendering it in the status of a navigatable spaceship or being an artificial power driven satellite. Pick your choice, right? In fact, the moon is perceived to be comprised of 3 layers, but being void of a heavy iron core. It is thought of having no water on its surface, but being comprised of water in its inner layers. And there is water on the moon. This also explains why the moon does not seem to have geological activity of any kind. And that one's weird because all other moons we've seen, unless they're frozen, the ones that are really, but we also know that even the frozen ones have volcanoes taking off, but not ours. And ours should. It's pretty close to us, 250,000 miles. Varies. Who knows? And then this is within line the fact that the moon density is so low and that it is hollow. Furthermore, it is concluded that the moon never resurfaces itself, as a natural planetary objects often do. It is now believed that the fractorial compounds were brought and were dispersed on the moon's surface. That's weird. It's like, if you're a baker, and you got, the white sugar, it's like, all right, let's just put some more boondust over here. This hypothesis may be further confirmed by the fact that the moon does not have a molten iron core. It does seem odd that if it was solid, right? Well, if it was solid, it wouldn't be up there, folks. It would be crashing into us. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Accordingly, the moon does not revolve about itself. Another reason why it is a hollow object. The fact that the moon is hollow and does not revolve about itself also explains why the moon does not have a gravitational or magnetic field. These observations certainly confirm the notion by the many ancient civilizations of the Earth that the moon is not a natural satellite, certainly, nor was it ever seen in the sky. And remember, this is this doctor's work. It's interesting. His next thesis is the moon was specifically designed artificially to serve particular purposes for the negative aliens. And I think that this is an interesting construct. We think of aliens as just being aliens, but my view of life is expanding all the time. We have a natural charge about us. All life on this planet does. What makes us think that every life has to be the same charge that we are? And if you had a negative polarity, and if you came down on this planet and a human touched you, boom, you dead. Just putting it out there. The fact that the moon is able to revolve around the Earth and the sun with such perfect precision and within such a perfect circular orbital configuration is not a fluke of nature. It is not a mere coincidence that the moon, the Earth, and the sun seem to mutually fit so perfectly within a circular orbit. Nor is it fortuitous that the moon has just the right size and distance to the Earth and the sun. The fact that there is such a quote-unquote perfect alignment with regard to the moon, Earth, and the sun is by design. As a result, we experience lunar and solar eclipses. And he has a whole list of references in like 3 or 4, I think it's 5 pages of them. So this is what you're seeing up there. However, the phenomenon of regular occurrence of lunar or solar eclipses among other celestial objects is not a common incidence, nor is it a natural occurrence that the moon does not spin about itself, and therefore it has no magnetic or gravitational field of its own. So how can we still get a gravitational field around it? We know that it does. Strange stuff afoot. These observations suggest that not only the moon is an artificial object that was dragged here from another part of the universe, but it was parked here in a particular spot and configuration and made to revolve around the Earth and the sun in a highly precise, pre-designed manner as to achieve certain goals. First of all, it suggests that the moon is equipped with a highly advanced machinery that is capable of artificially impart a magnetic disturbance on the Earth for a purpose. Indeed, this artificial machinery is referred to as the gravitron, whose main purpose is to maintain the staff of Earth about which Earth spins at an aggregate artificial offset angle of 23.5 degrees. This distorts the ratio of the magnetic and electric energies of Earth, purposely depriving Earth from some of its magnetic energies that are harvested and directed elsewhere, or to be more exact, to the negative aliens' black hole storage Moloch tank. Still a strange name. Now, I know, we all know, well, most of us know what Moloch is. Supplying energies to, wow, something just hit me. I'll have to bring this up in the Steiger perspective. Supplying energies to other parasitic beings who are located within the parallel, what we call the Wesedic, and the anti-parallel, the Wesadrake dimensions with respect to our physical Earths. Depriving Earth of its divine feminine magnetic energies also creates a gender or polarity imbalance on Earth, ensuring that Horatio could never occur, depriving humanity of consciousness, expansion, and evolution, and ascension to the higher dimensions. The graviton machinery also steams artificial signals directly at the human reproductive system, particularly the females, providing for an absurd game of sexuality or battle of the sexes to run among the reality of human beings, with the male playing the role of the narcissistic, suppressive, oppressive dominators, and the females conducting a narcissistic seductress venue for men, and the invitation of come and get it, but first satisfy my other avarice, materialistic needs and desires. That's heavy. I mean, got to stop and think about this. I mean, there's so much being dumped here because a lot of you are going like, what? But, you know, hey, battle of the sexes have always been a thing. It's not nothing new. I'm going to go on just for purposes that, if you want the document, get into this part, but I can tell you, I'll read this. Meanwhile, both parties are so plagued with the futile, insecure, and avarice desires and impulses of conquest that they practically live their lives as a form of zombies or unconsciously as almost automatons, while their precious energies are being continuously harvested by the negative aliens. There is something about this sexual energy that it's taboo. You talk about it, you can get, age restricted and everything else. And maybe that's what we need to do is get an age restricted, because the ignorance in this area, it's so deep. It's even deep amongst the metaphysical and, the so-called non-religious. Anyway, it's a point of frustration. The graviton also plays multiple nefarious roles in reversing the consciousness reality of humans, as well as other inhabitants of Earth that are explicit, that are explicitated elsewhere. The underlying reason why Moon was brought here, interesting stuff. The Moon is an artificial satellite, a spaceship that was brought here during the First Palladian War with the reptilians that occurred in our solar system. During this time, Earth existed in the second harmonic universe as a 5D planet referred to as Terra. So Terra is a name used to describe the fifth dimensional aspect of Earth. Terra had a conjugated mirror planet that existed as its twin, referred to as Tiamat. Terra and Tiamat existed as a binary star system. And as Earth is the 3D version of Terra, so Maldek existed as the 3D twin, or the conjugated mirror version of the 3D Earth, completing a binary star system. As a result of the galactic war between the Palladians and the reptilians, Tiamat exploded in the fifth dimension, with Maldek also exploding in the 3D solar system. As a result of this, both were destroyed. Today, Maldek exists as part of the 3D astral belt. And the remnants of Tiamat were mainly confiscated and taken by the reptilian negative aliens to form a slew of dark energetic beings and forces such as the lunar forces, Dark Mother, demons, and such, in which is referred to as the underworld. When Terra exploded millions of years ago as a 5D planet, it was sucked into the reversal black hole, which manifested 12 spherical layers of the planetary bodies that form the planets in our current solar system, including the 3D version of Earth in which we inhabit and within the time vector of the universal time matrix. Time is a curse, by the way. In many of the books I'm reading on a lot of this, time is a curse. We don't need time, but it's what happens when you're in a prison planet. Anyway, from the Guardian's perspective, the moon is an inorganic structure and did not come from our solar system. In fact, the moon is an artificial satellite that is locked to orbit about the Earth's body magnetic core. It was brought here during the last war between the Palladians and the reptilians. The moon is a craft remnant of this war and refitted for its current use as a reptilian and gray alien base. We have many other channels have shown this. There's one channel, that's all he does is have high-powered telescopes on the moon. He's caught the fleets up there, and there ain't just one, brother and sister. There's a lot. There are many beings living inside of the moon right now. It was used for a practical reason to be able to have a moon base in close proximity to monitor and adjust the magnetic fields of the planet. I'm going to continue to go over a little bit on this one because it's cool. Evidence of life or alien occupation on the moon. The very fact that there are unusual activities on the moon, such as shining or projection of many different types of light, suggests that the moon is inhabited. At least ETs still reside and exist there. In fact, during the astronauts' visit, they found empty bottles on the surface of the moon. Now, I can't verify any of this, but this is his thesis. Accordingly, apart from serving as an outpost for different negative aliens, humans subservient to the negative aliens also have an outpost or station there. Laura has mentioned this, Laura Eisenhower. And in fact, in my Bloodline, the Bloodline Invaders series, this is exactly what I proposed nearly 5 years ago when I discovered this. In particular, there are settlements visible on its dark side, representing alien resident inhabitants of possibly different species. And in fact, the very reason for the moon having two distinct sides, with the dark and the bright sides, indicates the moon was designed for distinct purposes on either side, with the dark side being particularly suitable for the negative aliens to exist there, also serving the purpose of hiding them from the plain sight of human beings who may venture to observe things there via high-powered telescopes or via somebody having the capacity of spaceflight. In this respect, one side always remains dark as to hide the presence of aliens occupying there. And again, the presence of strange surface lights emitting from there testifies to this fact. The Zulu tribe, as well as the Sumerians and Mesopotamians, have always asserted that the moon was brought here by the reptilian race, Inya. Furthermore, they add, and what we would call Furthermore, they describe these reptilian races as reptilian human hybrids, such as the Anunnaki. Isn't it odd how it's how shall we say, so well dispersed? There are evidences of strange sightings on the moon's surface that are even detectable through the use of a power telescope. Even NASA has reported existence of peculiar mechanical devices on the surface of the moon. Go and Google this. You can see them. Make your own determination, but those look like machines to me. Looks like they're mining. It looks like they're, check it out for yourself. You can find them. Some of these resemble spiral as well as pyramidal structures. To cite one, there is a tall tower that rises as much as 5 miles in the air. It's in a crater. It's huge. It seems that there are remnants of old and past civilizations on the moon. There is evidence of blocks of metal that are left on the surface. It appears as if intelligent has existed and even still exists within the underground or the dark side of the moon. There is evidence of currently operating facilities on the moon. Check them out. Furthermore, there is often appearances of anomalous lights, some flashing nature on the surface of the moon. During the astronauts' visit to the moon, NASA discovered shocking information. There were transmissions that soon became blocked or censored from detection of the public that indicated the presence of UFOs as well as alien beings described by the astronaut. One of the rumors is that Neil Armstrong was met. I'll leave it at that. Check it out. To cite an example, Neil Armstrong indicated that he saw a UFO. Buzz Aldrin even saw an ET. Don't want that. Excuse me. That went down the wrong pipe. Well, that's cinnamon. Woo! Hello. There were evidence of having encountered such experiences during a 2-minute transmission that soon became interrupted by NASA. However, there are many configurations of such conversations and messages on the air that are readily picked up by civilian radio operators and reported afterwards. In fact, a French source published the transmission before it was banned. There was clear evidence of an alien language being spoken during the broadcast. However, no one in the government verifies or admits to such evidence existing, testifying to the fact that there is a covert collaboration or cooperation of a shadow government where certain aliens, Greys, the Zetas, the Necromontans, that's an interesting. One plausible explanation is that not only the moon serves as an alien base, but it serves as an observation platform overseeing the affairs of the planet. In this respect, it is envisioned that both the government and the negative aliens have their own bases here. Did y'all see the story yesterday about in I think it was in Phoenix, Arizona at the Bed Bath & Beyond? Folks, you need to see that video because there is a deep, troubling evidence being shown there. Not good. All right, I know I'm going over, but talks about the negative aliens machinery present on the moon. You can check this out. It's really interesting. In fact, we're almost getting kind of at the end. So if you want it, I'll let you see this. He gets back into this whole issue of why humans hate other humans. And it is remarkable to me that why it is that we do this to ourselves. We all know our planet is in dire straits. Many of us in this community and other like-minded communities are struggling with this because it seems, and I'll tell you, I got into some automatic writing yesterday. I got into a bit of deep meditation, and it's interesting because I began to if you meditate, you can feel them. I know that there are those amongst us here that can do this. This is what I wrote. Our solar system is in the veil of dark light. There is more than one here who controls the energy. And I was writing this down, and it's quite interesting. They're aware of me. I can feel them. It's in my consciousness. They're aware of me. I'm probing them, but they're probing me. It also appears that there are others who are beginning to probe them. This took place at 2:26 p.m. And then this came forward. They are not as powerful or as strong as we believe. They feed off of our misery, our suffering. All of our religions, all of our stories of death are designed to bring the amplitude of fear like adrenochrome in a slaughtered animal before they die. This is what they have instilled in humans since the very beginning. It is after a lifetime of harvesting off each human being that when they give their final blow is to increase the fear of the adrenochrome in death. Thus, they have the ability to harvest us as we make the transition. Now, you can take that for whatever you want, but certainly makes good sense to me. Yeah. So, Ken Cook says, I hate being probed. Well, actually, I'm right there with you, Ken, but unfortunately, it's happening to us all the time. How do you think that when you have an argument between two people, that suddenly something injects itself into that situation that hypes it out of control and you end up having a murder? Again, their goal is to get you and I to have such fear, dumping this adrenochrome into us in vast amounts right as we're making the transition, that fear of death. And they're right there harvesting. Think about this. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. I'm just reading some of it. So told you this was interesting. And we only got to, I think we made it to like a page 13, 14 to 15. Then we got through the most of it. And, we'll pick up tomorrow with Trina. We're going to be talking about the contracts that we've made with our bodies. You see, you and I, most people have been taught, well, you have to discipline your body. You have to restrict your body. Well, you can't go into this and that direction. And that's the lie. You're here to enjoy these bodies. They offer a delight in so many areas, but they restrict us. And then we'll get into this more. When things go wrong, they're harvesting it. Because the thing is, when you have pain with a disease, they're feeding off that pain. Think about it. There's no pharmaceutical company out there that are developing cures for cancer. There's no pharmaceutical companies developing a cure for the cold or anything else. Think about it. Okay. Danny says, oh, so enjoying mine. Now, there you go, girl. That's what it's about. All right, folks. Much favor to you. I do. Y'all are just far out. And I have such joy coming here and meeting on every day. And yeah. So I'll see y'all tomorrow and have a great rest of the